The concept of property, ownership, possession, and liability. This may help in law exams, any other competitive exam, or this may help in net UGC net exam also. So the term property, concept of property. The term property may be described as sum total of the man's fortune, which includes not only the objective of which he is the owner, but also the value of any other claim which he may have against other persons. सो ऐसी प्रॉपर्टीज़ जिसको वो दूसरे लोगों के प्रेफरेंस में क्लेम कर सकता है, दैट इज़ प्रॉपर्टी. However, if we talk in limited sense, property covers only person's proprietary right as opposed to his personal right. In another sense, property includes only those rights which are proprietary rights in rem, patent, copyright. However, a debt or a benefit of a contract is not included within the concept of the term, within the scope of the term property. There is one definition of Salmon. It states that the substantive civil law can be divided into three major sections, namely the law of property, the law of obligation, and the law of a statute. The first deal with the proprietary rights in rem. Rights in rem means rights against whole world. Right in person and means right against a specific persons. So it is saying the first is what the law of property, the law of obligation, and the law of statute. The law of property deals with the proprietary rights in rem, right against whole world. The second, proprietary rights in personam, that is the law of obligation. Law of obligation, when we do contracts, we undertake obligations that we are supposed to do this to in order to do this, and उसमें हम अपनी liabilities खुद decide करते हैं as per Indian Contract Act. The law of statute, this is the third one. The third deal with the personal and non-proprietary rights. Non-proprietary rights, whether in rem or in personam. And next is there's one case where in the definition of property they have defined, this is Gurudat Sharma versus State of Bihar, a legal concept, and property as a legal concept, and observe that it is the bundle of right, and in the case of a tangible property it would include the right of possession, the right to enjoy, the right to retain, the right to alienate, and right to destroy. Right to alienate means you can transfer your property as per Transfer of Property Act. Right to destroy means it's your right to have that property, or you can destroy your property also, that is also your right. The right to enjoy, the right to retain, right to alienate, and right to destroy. The term property also include goodwill of a business. जैसे हम business की goodwill भी sale कर सकते हैं, or we can make contracts, business contracts also we can also make in this reference, which is an intangible asset. Goodwill is an intangible asset, means we cannot touch goodwill. जैसे ब्रांड्स होती हैं, ये ब्रांड्स की बहुत सारी कार कंपनीज होती हैं जो अपनी गुडविल सेल करती हैं, बिजनेस सेल करती है. जैसे टाटा ने जैगवार को एक्वायर किया था, जो हेनरी फोर्ड का ब्रांड है, विच इज़ अ इंटेंजिबल एसेट. It includes not only the immovable and movable object but also patent, copyright, share, claim, etc. According to Salmon, ownership of a corporal property is general, permanent, and inheritable right of the user of a thing. Ownership के बारे में बात कर रहा है Salmon, and he says that the corporal property is a general, permanent, and inheritable right of user of a thing. Thereafter, theories of property की अगर हम बात करें, सो नेचुरल लॉ थ्योरी, इस पे MCQ बनते हैं. और इम्पॉर्टेंट है. अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस थ्योरी प्रॉपर्टी वॉज फर्स्ट एक्वायर्ड बाय ऑक्यूपेशन ऑफ अ ownerless object. Property was first acquired by occupation of a ownerless object as a result of individual labor. He says, this theory says that individual labor के through आप acquire करते हो ownership को. Blackstone, Locke, and these are the other supporters of the theory, and Kant also supported this theory in his work Philosophy of Law. Philosophy of Law जो है दिस इज स्पेसिफिक, इस पे क्वेश्चन आ जाता है कि फिलोसफी ऑफ लॉ इज़ रिटन बाय होम. तो कैंट के लिए नाम याद रखना है आपको. अकॉर्डिंग टू ब्लैकस्टोन, बाय द लॉ ऑफ नेचर एंड रीजन, ही हु फर्स्ट बिगेन टू यूज अ थिंग एक्वायर देयर इन अ राइट ऑफ अ transient property that lasted so long as he was using it and no longer. Sir Henry Mains and Bentham criticized the natural law theory of property. According to Mains, it is erroneous to think that possession gives rise to title, for there is no reasonable ground to support this concept. Possession would not give you right of title. This is the opinion of Mains. Bentham says that property has not originated by first occupation of a ownerless thing, but it is a creation of law. He does not believe in the existence of a property without existence of a law. Bentham says if there is a law, then there is a concept of property. You cannot acquire property without law, because if you want to acquire property, you have to pay as per Indian Contract Act. You have to pay the money or some other in barter system की तरह, या in consideration of acquiring property, you need to give something to the opposite party and you need to get it registered. तो बेंथम का कॉन्सेप्ट जो है ये जो है अच्छे से फॉलो हो रहा है मॉडर्न लॉ में. और मेन का भी कॉन्सेप्ट है, दैट इज़ ऑल्सो सही, इस बिल्कुल करेक्ट है कि आपने एक्वायर कर ली प्रॉपर्टी, आपने पोजेशन ले लिया. पोजेशन इज़ नॉट ओनरशिप. Basically, Bentham is saying that just merely you have acquired a property does not mean that you become the owner of the property. Another theory is labor theory. According to this theory, property can be claimed on the exclusive basis of one's work, which produce that property. This theory recognizes the role of labor for adequate rewards. When a person acquires property, he or she is entitled to hold it exclusively. Theory further states that the thing, that is res, is the property of a person who produces it or bring it into existence. But this view was criticized by Lasky on the basis that a labor does not produce property, it is only a means to earn property. Lasky says that labor does not produce property. आपने labor करके produce नहीं करी है property. It's a means to produce property, because in exchange of labor you are acquiring some property. The Marxist theory of property is based on predominance of labor in economy of a country. However, this theory is not significant in modern time because it has been proved many times that the property can be acquired without labor, जैसे कि inheritance से will के through. The labor theory of property is also called as a positive theory, which was propounded by Spencer, who founded it on the fundamental law of equal freedom of individual. He asserted that the property is an outcome of individual labor. Who says property is an outcome of individual labor? Spencer says. Spencer says that the property is the outcome of individual labor, so no one has a moral right to property which he has not acquired by personal labor. Spencer says you do personal labor and acquire property. इसको this theory of labor theory of property is also called as a positive theory. Metaphysical theory is another theory. Hegel, Kant were the chief exponent of the theory. According to Hegel, property is the objective manifestation of the personality of an individual. It means property is an object on which the person has the liberty to direct his will. Kant also justifies the existence of a property and need for its protection. So metaphysical theory के supporters are Hegel and Kant. Then comes, according to Kant, the law of property does not merely seek to protect possession. Law of property does not merely seek to protect possession where there is a actual physical relation between the possessor and the object, but it goes beyond it and consider personal will of the individual more important in a concept of property. Historical theory. Henry Min was the main supporter of the historical theory of region origin of property. According to him, property originally did not belong to individual, not even to isolated families, but a large society composed of patriarchal pattern. Patriarchal pattern. According to Roscoe Pond, the earliest form of property was a group property, which later disintegrated into family property, and finally, the concept of individual property came into existence. So, Henry Min says that initially property was acquired by communities, groups, like just like states, just like different countries, and thereafter the comes the concept of family property and then individual. According to Roscoe Pond, the earliest form of property was a group property, which later disintegrated into family property, and finally the concept of individual property came into existence. Miraglia, an Italian jurist, also supported this theory of property. Then, a psychological theory. Bentham has supported the psychological theory of property and has observed that the property is altogether a concept of mind. It is nothing more than expectation to derive certain advantage from the object according to one's capacity. According to this theory, property came into existence on account of acquisitive tendency of a human being. The theory has been criticized because it is considered to be Maine's imaginative reconstruction based on Indian villages. Indian village community is a certain local custom prevalent in ancient Indian village, so it lack universal application. Psychological theory का universal application नहीं है because it is considered that Bentham although has supported this theory, but uh, it says that there is a acquisitive tendency of a human being, and because of that only property came into existence. The theory has been criticized, and because the Indian concept पे base है, it has no universal application. Thereafter comes the functional theory. This theory considers property as a social interest for promoting general security and protection of individual interest and personality, domestic relation and in subsistence, as observed by Roscoe on interest of personality like security of one's physical being, privacy, honor, reputation, etc., can be realized only through some access to property. Interest of subsistence include right to property, economic advantages, freedom of association, availability of employment and opportunity. According to Jenks, the concept of property should not only be confined to private right but also should be considered as a social institution securing maximum interest of the society. And Lasky property, according to Lasky, property is a social fact like any other, and it is a character of social facts to keep on changing. Property therefore has assumed various aspects and is further liable to change with the changing norm of society. Lasky says the property concept change hota hai as per the changing norms of society. Thereafter comes the kinds of property, which I will pick up in some other class.